Hey, how are you? So, we're going to talk today about the psychological effects of climate change. So, this is a little bit different for my channel, but I feel like since I have this forum, for those of you who are interested, I think it's very important for us to uh, really talk about our passions. Now, you might be against climate change, so I'm not trying to convince anyone to be in climate change or to hop on the bandwagon, whatever, but think about pollution, okay? I just want to talk about the psychological effects of pollution, and let me get comfortable first. I just worked out, so I have a workout shirt on. I'm kidding. What? Okay, I'm back. So I've got a little red heart. I put red lipstick on, but I just did a workout. I'm getting ready to do another workout, but I needed to do this. I'm going to do this every Friday at 10, and we're going to talk about different types of psychological climate change, psychological pollution. So today, one major issue is, are people that tend to pollute more, are they narcissists? We see a lot of activities that are focused on being green. We see a lot of people in yoga studios. We see a lot of people in different areas of what we call green, and they're not very green at all. So there's a lot of companies that are called greenwashed companies. These are people that are hopping on the trend of not polluting, of not harming the environment and everything else. And they really are just using that as a marketing strategy, and they're really pretty horrible. So greenwashed products, greenwashed companies are something we really have to pay attention to. Anyone is allowed to say that they are a green company. There is absolutely no law in place that tells you you can't say that you are a green company. So when you are looking at different companies, really research, how are they manufacturing? How are they coping with the environment? How are they working towards being a better person? Now, I'm going to be really transparent. I'm a huge fan, or I was a huge fan, of the convenience of having my water in a plastic bottle. So one thing I'm doing now is I'm actually using a glass. I don't even know if you could see it here, but I'm actually using more of a glass. And the other thing that I'm doing is I actually purchase these filled with water, and then I throw lemon in it, because honestly, I'm not a huge just guzzle water fan unless it's like 90 degrees and 60% or 90% humidity. So to help the environment. Now, let's talk about people that might be narcissistic or selfish or whatever they are, and pollution. So let me first back up. So Fire Drill Friday is something that has come together with Greta Sweden, you know of her, uh, Greta, Greenpeace, Jane Fonda. These are all people that are really pushing, understanding that not everybody can protest on a Friday. Not everybody can, cut school and sit outside of their school to make a statement. Not everyone can march on Washington. But I think everyone can do their part on Fridays. So maybe just take Fridays as a day that you don't use plastic bottles, if this is something that you're more used to. Take Fridays as a day to only waste it in fashion. And I don't know if you just got that, because again, we have weird weather, and it's not where I'm located in my home. It's the weird weather that we're having. I apologize. It seems like every time I do a live, we've got this weird weather. But a lot of you Belezes are very interested in fashion. And if you look at deals, okay, it is very, very easy to look at a $29 shirt and then it's on sale for $7.99. The company is still making money on that $7.99 shirt, because these shirts are fast fashion. These are made in, you have to really look at the supply chain. So by the time you get it, maybe it's a $29 shirt, maybe even a $49 shirt, maybe $7.99. You think it's a great deal. But you're the last person that gets that shirt. It's going through an entire supply chain of the store that actually sells it. And that shirt is helping to pay their employees and to make the rent and to make the electricity and the heating and all of that. The insurance, all the insurance that goes into, and all the incidental business costs that go into a corporation or a chain store, or even an individual store. So we have these types of costs, and then we have the wholesalers, and then we have the shipping costs. Well, out of that, say $7.99 shirt or $49 shirt that is considered fast fashion, how much do you think is going to the person who is maybe 8 years old or 72 years old, God willing that they've lived that long, sitting there working 12 to 15 hours a day and not really even having enough to pay for food, and they don't have any kind of health and they're very unhealthy, and what do you think they're getting from it? So fast fashion is unethical fashion. And so many of us are prone to look for those deals. So part for me of Fire Drill Friday is to bring more awareness and to shed light upon the people that are hiding in the dark, not wanting you to know how what they're doing looks like it benefits you, but it's really hurting you. It's hurting everybody down the supply chain. It's hurting someone. Like, would you want to wear something that has hurt someone somewhere else? Like, is that $7 shirt worth it for you? Now, for some people, it is. And this is exactly the problem. So if you're that person, maybe you're a narcissist. If you believe that, you're in your middle income home or upper middle income home or wealthy home or even poverty, okay? Being poor does not give you an excuse to hurt other people, okay? Being inconvenienced does not give you an excuse to hurt other people. Being wealthy doesn't give you an excuse to take advantage of other people. So why are we allowing this globally? Why are we allowing corporations to do this to people, to abuse people? So we can sit on this channel and we can talk about mental health, and we can talk about the radical notion that we care about people not being abused. We can sit there and we can thumbs up the videos that are talking about how bad a narcissist is and how you need to get away from a narcissist. But then we turn around and we're using plastic bottles and wearing cheap clothing that, when I say cheap, economical clothing that was made by someone who doesn't even have the basics. They don't even have a toothbrush. I mean, is this really us being a hypocrite? And that's where, when I really started looking at it, well, first of all, I'm a huge fan of Jane Fonda. I love Greenpeace. And so I started thinking, like, if I feel so strongly about these topics, why am I ignoring them? And why am I abusing them and being a hypocrite myself? Now, a lot of my channel is about not holding shame and releasing shame. Well, I started to realize as I was researching, how much shame am I holding knowing that the things that I do are hurting other people or hurting my grandchild's future or your grandchild's future or your air quality right now? I can't tell you the amount of people that I've had in my office before it was more of a studio here, when I had like lush couches and so forth for people to sit on. Now it's kind of open. I can't tell you the amount of people that came in that this type of weather, spring, they couldn't go outside because their allergies were so bad, or they have a CPAP machine because at night they can't breathe. And they're gaining weight because the quality of their food, not because of their bad choices. And a lot of people think that people are only heavy because of bad choices and they're binge eating all day long. But most of the foods that are affordable for many people are heavily processed. And so if you're eating heavily processed foods, you are basically eating fast fashion, fast food, junk food. Anything with the word fast attached, or that it's convenience, or very economical, often has something very negative attached to it. There's often something very sacrificial to it. Somebody's the sacrificial lamb when we are indulging. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that everything economical is bad. Okay. And I'm not saying that everything expensive is good. There are many, many companies and designers that are using they're profiting off the blood and sweat of someone else's back, and they're okay with it. And then we, in our middle to upper middle class society, or even lower class society, when I say lower class, I mean lower economical society, we suddenly feel like it's okay to wear like this giant brand in front of us, because that means we are something if we can say that we have a certain type of brand name attached to us, right? And that's not true. Okay. If you get your self-esteem off of the brand name identity, then, and I mean your self-esteem, I don't mean that you just enjoy it, but your brand name is that brand name that you're attaching to yourself is something that gives you identity and self-value, you're doing life wrong, okay? And this is where I want to talk about narcissism, not you as a narcissist, but society as a narcissist. Like, we are living in a really narcissistic society. And we are realizing now with COVID that, the number one top search is not the Kardashians anymore. But for a long time it was. Why? Because we were so empty that we were living through other people who were living what we thought would make us happy if we had those things. Okay. And so that's where fast food and fast fashion come along, because we weren't taking the time to honor ourselves. Now, climate change, pollution, all of this does play a part in this, because the minute we start pulling back from all of this and looking at how can we be healthier? Okay, we don't have a vaccine yet. We don't have X. We don't have this. We don't know who to trust politically, scientifically. Doctors still don't know, and they've admitted it. They admit that they don't have the answers, but they're searching. We slam the media, but yet we hook onto the media if the media feeds our agenda. And we will trust politicians if the politicians align with what we identify as. And we keep doing these very superficial things. And this is part of the pollution of our society. It's not just, hot out, glaciers melting kind of stuff, okay? And that is a huge part of it. But as all of this climate is changing the earth, and we have floods and we have winds. I mean, let me tell you, I couldn't make a meeting last night from here in my home because we had such high winds, 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts for 8 hours. And, we were very lucky. But one of my neighbors, a huge tree fell on her house, broke the trusses and everything. And they have tarps over because we're supposed to be getting more rain. And they're in, not a great situation right now. It really crashed through their house. So, and understand, it crashed through their house during a time of isolation. It's not the kind of thing that you can just say, hey, just come over and hang out on my couch until things get ready at your house, because everyone's afraid of connecting. So if we have created the kind of environment where we can't even help our neighbors, how bad is that? Now, they are actually okay. And I, thank God, have a shed that has heat, electricity, has a chandelier. It's really pretty amazing. So they can actually stay there and use one of the other bathrooms. So they have a place that they can be in a pinch, but they can't go to hotels right now. Like, where can they go right now? So COVID, to me, is sort of this beacon of light. And I know we've had plagues through the years. I know that. So I know there's going to be hate or whatever happening, and I really don't care. If I'm not expressing what I feel is my truth, then, like, I'm not tiptoeing around people who just disagree with me and are going to trash me. I don't care. And I hope you don't. And I hope you don't feel that angry at me to do that. But, I hope that you respect everybody's opinion, including your own, but you can also respect other people's opinion. Like, I wouldn't go seek you out, knock on your door and say something, horrible to you. Anyway, when we have something like COVID, that is as horrible as it is a beacon of light shedding to us that we need to pull back. When we start noticing that just a couple of days or a week of not having life as usual, all of a sudden there's less pollution and blue skies in areas that had not had blue skies in many years. And trust me when I say that doesn't mean that everything's great now, okay? We still have an atmosphere filled with pollution. So we have to do years and years of work to clean that up, okay? But, oh my gosh, guys, this is so funny. I wish you could see it. There is a squirrel. That ADHD thing where you're like, ooh, saw a squirrel. Like, I really did just see a squirrel. I have a window right here, and he was like just looking in at me. I just totally freaked him out. But anyway, talk about nature, like, this is what I mean. Like, nature is coming back. Like, I don't know if you've seen the pictures, but there are cities right now that have ducks and geese walking through the streets because they're finally safe. We have created a world where nature, which we are a part of, is not safe. We are building houses everywhere where there's empty houses. There's empty companies. I mean, have you ever, okay, let me just back up here. Have you ever driven around and you see rental signs and rental signs and rental signs, but then you see someone building a new property, right? And for sale signs. Why do they keep building instead of like why aren't communities and cities and states on a federal level, why aren't we looking at preserving as much land as possible? We can't really just create new land, right? We can build up and we can utilize what we already have, but why are we taking away everything that helps us to be healthy? We need this green, we need this greenery. I live in an older home and from the 70s, and trust me, the renovations on it are interesting, but I'm not moving because we have a couple of acres and I have lots of trees and shrubbery and yard, and I can't get what I have here. I can't translate that for what I can afford and have this kind of greenery. So I'm not here so much because of the house. I'm here because of what I have as far as the land. So I don't know if any of this kind of, I'm going all over the place with this, but we need to understand that there are psychological ramifications to having climate change issues and pollution. We have stress. Yesterday, when we started having 60-mile-an-hour winds, don't think for a minute, especially with the trees that I have, that I wasn't worried. Don't think for a minute that I didn't feel horrible when I found out that my neighbors have basically an almost unlivable house right now. The renovations, when they have to go through renovations, they won't be able to live there. We have anxiety, we have stress, we have guilt, we have different levels of flooding and tornadoes and all different types of problems because of pollution. And yet no one wants to give up their way of living. So I'm saying that in the future on Fire Drill Fridays, it really won't be this long. And I'm sorry if I've bored you. If you've stuck around this far, awesome, thank you. But I want to start interviewing people who are connected with the environment or have companies that are very pro-environment, and give back to the environment. Like I know Young Living is one, and my daughter actually sells for Young Living. I'm under her sort of. I don't really sell, but I do have a link, and you'll see that below. But Young Living, excuse me, essential oils gives back to the environment. There are lots of companies that truly do give back, and I want to highlight those companies. I want to celebrate. So we could just sit and we can bash everybody and we can protest everyone, and that's good in a way. Okay, so protesting has its place and it brings awareness, and bringing up companies that are doing really horrible things, that's very important. But I think it's more important to celebrate and highlight the people that are doing it right, the people that are trying. So if you have something that you're doing, please let me know. Please comment below the kind of things that you do to help to, even if it's not every day. I mean, this is where shame comes in and blame. I don't care if you're doing it every single day, something positive, but if you're doing it sometimes, okay? I just started with the glass bottles. So I'm admitting that. And I'm going to work at doing this every day. But if I don't, I don't. Okay. So I want you to not feel shame or put blame on someone who's trying and is struggling sometimes. Just like in any type of therapy, you don't say to someone who has disordered eating, hey, you're doing great, but that one day, you ate a sleeve of Oreos, how dare you? You don't shame someone. You say, hey, you know what? You had a weak moment, you struggled. Tomorrow is a new day, or the next minute is a new minute. Let's work on positive changes. So that's what I want you to focus on. I would love for you to let me know what types of positive changes for the environment, for your community. Do you focus on not purchasing fast fashion? Do you try to use glass bottles? Do you use just the water out of your spigot? Do you plant a garden? Do you help and volunteer with giving even neighbors tomatoes and cucumbers if they don't have a garden? What kind of things do you do to promote healthy living and a lack of creating pollution? And I'm not saying, I expect you to just rollerblade everywhere if you live in the suburbs, but what kind of things do you do? Do you try to get all of your shopping done in one shot, or do you go out every single day? Do you get in your car and, do all of that? Like, what do you do to help yourself? What do you do to help the environment? And who do you know that I should focus on? Do you know a company? Do you know a person who I should be interviewing or that I should be highlighting? So one thing that I did do is now today I'm not wearing it, but pretty soon I am going to have my Fire Drill Friday shirt on from Jane Fonda's site, and I can't wait for that. So every Friday I will be wearing that shirt, hopefully the red lipstick and maybe the red, you know, necklace or red accessories. I want to try to just make this something where maybe we all start doing this on Fridays, even if it's just something that we keep in our minds. And let me tell you why this is important. If I can remember every Friday to wear a necklace that has some red in it, okay? Seems superficial, right? But it's not. Because what will happen is I will remember why I'm doing this. So the intention behind what you are doing is often more important than sometimes the act of what you do. So maybe me even just doing these lives on Fridays, maybe this isn't the biggest thing for me. Maybe it's not the biggest thing for you, but maybe it plants a seed, even just seeing it one time, even if you never even look at it. Maybe you just see the playlist. Somebody sees the playlist that says Fire Drill Fridays, and all of a sudden it makes a click in their mind. A little light goes off where they know what it's about, and they make that quick little decision to do something a little bit better in their life that helps the greater good and helps themselves and their grandchildren and their great grandchildren and the ancestors way down the line. So think of it right now. The air that we have to breathe and the life that we do have, the blessings that we have are afforded to us because of some of the ancestors in the past. So to me, when you have all of these ancestors in the past that have given and honored the earth through just understanding how important the earth was and really, looking at the celestial changes, the moon changes and planting with the seasons and the moon and waiting till certain times of the year to do certain things and honoring all of this, then we can then look at, well, what are we doing? Like, is our biggest claim to fame just technology? Like, it needs to be more than that, because technology is nothing without the living, breathing people behind it. And so, what is technology if we have to stay quarantined and we can't hug and we can't be together and we can't hug a child or, have a birthday party with children interacting without fear of a deathly illness, So I would love for you to write below things that you think that we should be doing for Fire Drill Friday. This is very new for me. I'm doing this on the fly. And I will talk to you very soon. I'm going to get going and just let me know. Okay, see ya.